I break. I love you. I want you. It's simply only you. I promise. My hands fist the hem of his shirt, wanting to pull it off. My hands clench and unclench in the fabric as my heart beats even faster. His lips part and his eyes grow dark with desire. He lets his fingers drift down to my shoulders and I shudder. When he places his hands on my thighs, spreading them wider, I crave his touch everywhere. My blood races as his eyes hold mine captive. When I'm finally able to break free of this trance, I lick the outline of his lips, tasting the salty seawater from the beach still on his skin. Pulling back, he studies me, and his green eyes gleam under the halo of lights from the Hollywood sign. I press my palms to his chest and run them up under his shirt. He groans and then slips his tongue in my mouth. I gasp when he forcefully thrusts his hips into mine and lose my connection to his lips. His hands move from my hips to his chest. He presses his fingers into my skin as he traces the small curves of my breasts, and then grazes each rib before stopping at the waistband of my shorts. When his hands reach my hips again, he cups my backside and lifts me up. Leaning my head against his, I run my fingers through his hair, tugging it ever so lightly, and cinch my legs around his waist. Closing my eyes, I feel our mouths meet again. We're frantic for each other, and our breathing becomes erratic. After a beat, he turns us around and starts walking toward the staircase. When I mold my body to his, he stops and presses my back against the wall, grinding into me. Again, it's more aggressive than we've ever been, even more so than last night. Hastily setting me down, his hands are at my waist in an instant, and I whimper with longing when he tears the button off my shorts and I hear it clink on the patio. He yanks my shorts, along with my bathing suit bottom, down, and they fall to the ground. The more he touches me, the more I want to touch him, love him, satisfy him. I reach for his jeans, unbuttoning and unzipping them as fast as I can. He groans when I slide my hand into his board shorts. His lips find mine again, and when he bites down on my lower lip, I want his pants all the way off. His are not as easy to maneuver as mine, so he does it for me. I lift his shirt up and pull it over his head. Looking at his smooth chest sends a rush of adrenaline through me. Standing there completely naked, looking at me in anticipation of what's to come, he practically tears my shirt off. He hastily tugs at the string behind my neck, and the triangles of my bikini top fall to my stomach. When he pushes against me, I can feel how much he wants me. His breathing hitches, and his eyes blaze as he stares at me intently, like he wants to devour me. Mine, always, he whispers, nipping my earlobe with his teeth. Yours forever, I breathe, burying my head in his neck. He's cupping my chin as we stare into each other's eyes, reassuring the other that the words we've just spoken are the truth. He surprises me when he turns me around and urges my legs apart. But when his head comes around me for a kiss and I twist to meet him, I don't care which direction I'm facing. Our tongues find the warmth of each other. With one hand he grabs my hip, while the other one travels down to my slick flesh. His skin is warm and feels so good against mine. He plunges a finger inside of me and I gasp. Hissing in a breath, I prop myself up with my hands to the wall, telling him, "River, I want you. Now." When he inserts another finger, I moan out in pleasure, and my moans grow louder when he circles his thumb around me. Not able to stand it much longer, I reach behind to grab him and slide my grip up and down his hard length. He's nearly panting in my ear when I place him right where I want him. His hands go around my hips and he slams into me fast and hard. I'm bracing my palms against the wall for support as his thickness fills me. Each retreat is followed by another glorious penetration. As his pace quickens, he reaches one hand down and starts to circle my most sensitive spot. "Don't move," he says, and pushes deeper into me at an increasing rate. When he lets out a low, almost primal groan, I know I have to experience him fully. So I push myself back and into him as hard as I can. Feeling him inside me is the single most fulfilling sensation in the world. When I hear that low groan from him again, I know he feels the same. I start moving up and down on my toes, pushing him as deep as possible into me. When his fingers dig into my flesh, I know his pleasure is building at the same pace as mine. He's no longer kissing my lips, no longer able to. I can tell from the sounds he's making and the way my body feels. As he continues to rock himself into me, my body responds rapidly. Closing my eyes, I inhale a deep breath and scream into the night. Oh, God! River, yes! My body shudders and pulsates from its core as I come hard and fast, experiencing a feeling that makes everything that was wrong between us feel right. His thrusts slow as my cries continue and a low groan escapes his mouth as he pours himself into me. It makes my muscles clench and my toes curl. He cocoons me against the wall, his arms on each side of me, his chest flat against my back, and his cheek resting on mine. We are both breathless and spent, but neither one of us wants to move. I don't want this feeling of utter pleasure to ever end. When he tugs on the string around my back, my bikini top falls to the ground. I twist my head around and joke. What? You want more? His lips meet mine and he kisses me with so much love that when he stops my lips are tingling. I smile at him and a devilish grin crosses his face as he says, I always want more. Chapter 12. Catch My Breath. The next morning we're back outside in the yard, and I love how River's green eyes sparkle in the sunlight as I watch him from the lounge chair. I have my coffee in one hand and my Kindle in the other. He turns to me and shoots me his full-blown smile. His dimples always make my heart flutter. Even with a black eye, he still takes my breath away. You're really not going to help me, are you? I shake my head from side to side. Nope. You have to learn your lesson. What lesson would that be? He walks over to me with the broom still in his hand. Setting my Kindle down, I hold my hand over my eyes to block out the sun and say, Why, the you break it, you clean it up lesson, of course. He lets the broom fall to the patio and pushes my knees up toward me as he straddles the lounge chair. Hey, what's my coffee? Taking my coffee from my hand, he sets it on the side table. His mouth is on mine before I can say another word. Then pulling away, he runs his hands up the inside of my thighs and says, I have a few lessons I wouldn't mind teaching you. And I bet mine are much more fun. I wrap my arms around his neck and pull him back to me. He presses his mouth to mine, and with the taste of his lips, the feel of his breath, everything seems perfect. Suddenly he sits up. His hand comes to my cheek, where he cups my face for a long moment, and then just stands up. Where are you going? I protest. With a sexy grin, he says, I have to finish cleaning up. I pout my lips. I wasn't done kissing him. He laughs. I'm getting too turned on sitting here like this. But if you want to help me, we could finish a hell of a lot faster and start on one of those lessons. I giggle. Nah, I'm good. He slips his Rolling Stones t-shirt off and tosses it at me. It's hot out here. He grabs the broom and walks back over to the shattered green glass. My eyes scan his perfect back, the way his muscles flex and move with every sweep of the broom, the way his skin glistens in the sunlight. I know exactly what you're up to, and it's not going to work. He smiles darkly. Oh, you have no idea what I'm up to. Trust me. He winks before turning back around. Bending over, he attempts to push the glass into the dustpan with the broom. He manages to get about a quarter in each time, and the more I watch, the more I feel bad. He really could use some assistance. I finally stand up and walk over to help him. When I'm standing next to him, I place my hands on my hips and let out a deep, exaggerated sigh. Hand me the broom, and I'll sweep the glass into the dustpan. His eyes peer up at me as a smirk crosses his face. You sure? I nod my head, and his smirk grows wider. But instead of handing me the broom, he drops it to the ground and lunges forward to hoist me over his shoulder. Put me down! What are you doing? Lesson number 1, beautiful girl. Never feel sorry for the person who looks incapable of cleaning up, because more than likely, it's just a big act. And with that, he tosses me into the pool. Surfacing, I sputter water out of my mouth and yell, You suck! No, I'm just good, he says smugly. When I reach the side and look into his seemingly content eyes, I have to agree. Yeah, you are good. He strides toward me, reaching his hand to help me out. You mean you're finally admitting it? I guess I am. After stripping off my wet clothes, I threw his t-shirt on and left him to finish cleaning up. With wet hair, I'm sitting at the breakfast bar in nothing but his shirt, attempting to eat a bowl full of cereal. His mood swings since Ben's reappearance are getting to me. One minute he's happy and normal, like this morning. The next minute he's quiet and distant like dinner last night. Or he's angrier than I've ever seen him, like our argument last night over Ben's note. Even though we've discussed Ben and I've made my feelings clear, I feel like there's something left unsaid between us, something still lingering between us, but I don't know how to figure out what it is. Arms tighten around me and River's chest presses against my back. I'm sorry. I almost feel like he's apologizing for more than throwing me in the pool, but since I'm not sure where a deeper conversation would lead, I just want to keep the mood light and our tempers even-keeled. I swivel around and run my fingertips up and down his bare chest. Hovering my lips over his ear, I whisper, never apologize for winning, because paybacks are a bitch. Kissing me on the lips, he shrugs as he walks into the kitchen. Paybacks sound like fun to me. I follow him and pour my cereal down the drain. I haven't had much of an appetite the last few days, and the bowl of wheat checks did nothing to increase it. He takes the box of Cheerios out and sets it on the counter. Not hungry again? I sigh a little. No, not really. Turning around, I lean against the sink and catch him shooting me a concerned look. He opens the cabinet to get out a bowl. I can't keep all of this bottled up, so I take a deep breath and grab onto the edge of the counter as I let it out. Can I ask you something? Leaving the bowl on the counter, he twists to look at me. The intensity in his eyes makes me want to escape this conversation. You know you can. Why did you fire Caleb? He doesn't hesitate to answer. Do you want to know what I told myself was the reason then, or the real reason? Both. He says, we didn't need him anymore since... He stops as if unable to say why. I finish the sentence for him. They caught the asshole who attacked me? He lets out a long sigh. Yeah. That's what I told myself when I fired him. And that's not the real reason? I just couldn't stand that he was... Can't stand that he is his friend. Ben and Caleb have been friends for many years. Somehow I always knew that was the reason River acted like he did toward Caleb. The only thing I can think to do is just tell him what he already knows. River, even though I don't want to ever talk to Ben again, we can't avoid everybody he knows. That's not fair to our friends or family. River nods his head. Striding over to me, he lifts my chin and cradles it. Dahlia, I did hire Caleb back. But there is something else. The sound of the twisting of the lock abruptly stops our conversation. We both snap our heads toward the front door when it swings open. Xander enters the foyer with his key in hand and signals hello with a single nod. Nix struts in right behind him and heads over to the sofa. He gives us an obligatory wave and then does a double take. What the fuck? He says, pointing to River's eye. River shrugs his shoulders and responds, Not now, man. Stepping in after Nix, a woman I've never seen before comes through the door. She has long dark hair and olive skin. About average height, she has the shiniest hair and the most flawless complexion. She would give Ari a run for her money. She's truly stunning. She smiles at us and Garrett comes in right on her heels, practically walking into her. His blonde hair is tidier than I'm used to seeing it, and he apologizes to the woman before looking over to us. Hey, River. Dahlia. What's up? He, too, does a double take and almost points to River's eye. Ouch. Hope you did some damage to the opposite end of the fist that nailed you. River stiffens, but just grins at him. And for the first time, I wonder what the extent of Ben's injuries were. Garrett nods, grins back, and heads into the living room to turn the stereo on. River promptly redirects his attention to his brother, who ushers the exotic beauty our way. "Xander, just because you have a key doesn't mean you don't have to knock." "Shut up, River. I've been calling you since 7 this morning. If you'd answer your goddamn phone, I wouldn't have had to bring everyone here." Nix makes himself at home and flops his feet up on the table. "Got any coffee?" Ignoring Nix, Xander says, "Ellie Bryce, meet my brother, River, in the flesh. At least now you can see he actually does exist." She extends her finely manicured hand over the bar, and River moves beside me to shake it. When she speaks, her voice is confident and strong. "Sorry for the intrusion, but I do need your input, and Xander insisted we come over." River responds as he releases her hand. "Nice to meet you. I'm sorry I haven't made any of your meetings. But now actually isn't the best time." Xander shoots River a look. "No time seems to be the best time for you, so let's say we do it now." River tenses. I wrap my arm around his waist and look up at him. "Hey, I've got stuff I can do. We can finish talking later." Ellie reaches over to me, and her silver bangles jingle as we shake hands. "You must be Dahlia. It's a pleasure." "Hi, nice to meet you." Then I become aware as I look at her that I have no underwear on under River's t-shirt. River is also only half dressed, which is evident when her eyes seem to linger a little too long on him. He leans over and whispers in my ear, "You sure?" I nod and tuck my hand in the waistband of his jeans. River looks at Ellie and says, "Since Xander is insisting, what's so urgent?" "Everything has to be marked urgent with you, otherwise we can't get your attention," Xander retorts. "We need to firm up some details for each tour stop and make arrangements for the venues." Ellie responds cheerfully, ignoring Xander's comment. Xander takes a step toward the bar and pulls a stool out for Ellie. His eyes flash toward us and hastily away when he notices my clothing, or lack thereof. Smirking, he mumbles, "Guess we caught you at a bad time." Unresponsive, River moves to stand in front of me as Garrett walks into the kitchen behind us. River twists his head and shoots him a look. Garrett averts his eyes immediately. "Oh, sorry, man, I didn't realize." Cutting himself off, he points to the pot on the counter and says, "Nix wants coffee, but I can make it later. Right now I'll make like a busboy and get the fork out of here." With that, he promptly turns and leaves the kitchen, and I start laughing at him. Looking back toward Xander, River tries to control his laughter as he says, "Why don't you take everyone out back?" "Yeah, sure, no problem," he says, but he doesn't move. He just continues to stare. Back in the living room, Garrett slaps Nix on the knee and tells Ellie to follow him as he walks toward the glass doors. Xander stays put until everyone has left the room. Then, running his eyes over River's bare chest, he says, "Bro, it's almost 11 on a workday. You two really need to get over the whole rabbits and honeymoon phase and join the real world." "Fuck off." Xander feigns offense and puts his palm on his chest. Then, gesturing to me, he quotes the line River used to say to the guys before he became comfortable swearing in front of me. "Language, man. Language." River reaches his arm back around me and pulls the hem of my shirt down. Xander continues to laugh as he walks toward the doors and exits to the patio. "Hurry up and get dressed. It's rude to keep everyone waiting." River and I head to the bedroom. He grabs a shirt, and as he's slipping it on, he says, "Hopefully this won't take too long." When he kisses me and turns toward the door, I grab his arm. "Hey, what were you going to say before Xander came in?" He pauses a brief second, then kisses me again. "That I love you." "River, I know something else is going on. What is it? Just tell me." "It's nothing, really. I just think all of this tour shit is getting to me." Both his voice and his eyes waver, and I'm not convinced that's really what he was going to tell me. "Do you want to talk about it?" "Maybe later. Let me go take care of the latest issues before Xander loses it." I offer him a reassuring smile before he turns back around and walks toward the door. As he disappears, I can't help but hope that the actual tour goes better than the planning of it, for everyone's sake. In the shower, I decide I should probably get a new phone today. On the way out of the bathroom, I glance at all the pictures on my dresser, and my eyes stop on the one of Grace and me at my graduation. I have to talk to her today. Using the house phone, I call her and make plans to meet her in Laguna for lunch. Once I pull my jeans on, throw my Madonna t-shirt over my head, and grab my black sweater, I pull my tall black boots on and head for the kitchen. Glancing outside, I can see everyone is deep in conversation, except River. He's hunched over, scrubbing the palms of his hands over his eyes. Even though I know he's going on tour out of obligation, agreeing to it may not have been the best choice for him or the band. There's a knock at the front door, and I am surprised to see Caleb standing there. "Hey, come on in." He steps in. "Hi. How are you?" I give him a small smile, but don't answer. I'm not really sure how I am. I feel like I have a million questions to ask him, but don't want to get into it yet. He knew all about Ben. No, he didn't only know about Ben, he helped Ben. I feel resentment toward him and a little bitterness as well. I think he senses it. He drops his head and looks anywhere but at me. "I just have to check on one of the circuits for the security system. The motion sensors seem to be failing, and I think I need to replace the board." "Oh, okay, sure." Then pointing over my shoulder, I say, "You know the way downstairs." "It shouldn't take too long." "Caleb, it's fine." "Hey, Dahlia, I'm sorry about everything. I never wanted you to get hurt." I hear the glass doors open and I turn around. River walks in the room and Caleb looks up, startled, but quickly composes himself. "Hey, River, sorry to intrude. I tried to call." Walking over to us, River extends his hand and Caleb reciprocates. "Hey man, it's fine. What's up?" "I think I know why the alarm system keeps tripping. I need to check a board. I think it might be faulty." "No problem." River nods his head toward the stairs that lead to the security hub downstairs. "You need help?" "No, I got it. It'll just take a minute." Caleb heads downstairs. Looking over at River, I can see he's stressing out. "Everything okay?" He runs his hands through my hair. "Yeah, everything is fine." Fighting back the urge to kiss him, distract him to take away his stress, I take his face in my hands. They didn't look fine. "We're just going through a list of details for each stop. Boring shit, really. You can join us if you want." I'll pass on the boring conversation, but thanks anyway." Laughing a little, he says, "I don't blame you. I wish I would have passed." I shake my head at him. "You sure about this?" His arms frame either side of me, and he presses me up against the wall. He drags his tongue over his bottom lip and drops his head to my neck. "Sure about going back out there?" "No." I push him back. "I mean the tour." "I really don't want to talk about the tour," he says before his tongue finds mine and we both momentarily forget what we were talking about. I hear Caleb clear his throat before saying, "Sorry to interrupt." We both turn our heads and River stands up straight. "What'd you find?" "Like I thought, I have to order a new board. It should be here tomorrow," he tells us as he walks past us and reaches for the doorknob. River nods and says, "Thanks, man." "No problem. I'll call you when it comes in." Caleb closes the door behind him. Feeling relieved that all went well, but sad that Caleb and I seem so distant, I tell River my plans for the day. "I'm going to get a new phone and meet Grace for lunch." He looks at me intently. "Do you want me to come with you?" "No, it's fine. And besides," I say, motioning outside, "you're in the middle of a meeting." With a glance over to the group huddled around our patio table, he says, "That's not important. I can bag out if you need me." Taking his face in my hands and looking into his eyes, I say, "I think I need to talk to Grace on my own." There's a long pause before I remind him, "But I always need you." I arrive at Esta's first, and the hostess shows me to a table. Sipping my water, I wait nervously for Grace. The restaurant is busy, and people are animatedly talking around me. Playing with my new phone, I assign River his old ringtone, Sexy Back. Then I send him a quick text. "Dahlia, Just wanted to tell you I have my new phone in case you want to tell me how much you miss me. Smiley face. River. I always miss you, and I was just thinking about you. Dahlia. What were you thinking about? River. The way you looked walking out the door in those boots. Dahlia. You're in a meeting. Why are you thinking about my boots? River. Because I'm bored as hell, and trust me, it's not only the boots I'm thinking about. Just as I'm about to text River back, telling him that I'd be happy to entertain him during his boredom, I feel a hand on my shoulder. Dahlia, honey? Grace says, standing over me, and I drop my phone in my purse before standing up to greet her. Looking down into her face, I see she looks older, worn even. Her natural glow seems to have dissipated. Her usually tidy blonde hair is disheveled, her blue eyes look dull, and there are dark circles under them. The tranquility I usually feel when I see her just isn't there. When I hug her, her body is shaking. Clinging to her, I hope to calm her trembling. Oh, Grace, is all I can manage before she pulls back. Her voice is shaky, and I can see that this really has taken a toll on her. Let's sit down and talk. We both settle in at the small table draped in white linen and place our napkins on our laps. I don't even know how to begin this conversation, but Grace, being true to form, leads the way. Dahlia, how are you holding up? I shrug my shoulders. I'm okay. I'm glad you called me. I'm sorry I didn't call sooner. I just needed some time. Grace looks at me for a few moments and then asks point blank, Aren't you glad Ben's alive? Taken aback, I stammer. That's the one question I had yet to even ask myself. God, of course I am. Because it's true. Of course I'm glad he's alive and not dead. Who wouldn't be? Her next question comes rapidly and I try to remain calm. Then is it because of the way we told you? I'm sorry for that. That was not how I wanted you to find out. Grace, I'm not upset about how I learned that Ben's really alive. I get that there was no easy way. Then is it because of the attack? I am so grateful that you're okay. But you have to know he had no idea you'd be in danger. No, I was only upset that all of you knew and none of you told me who attacked me. Dahlia, that was for your sake. I wanted to be there when flashes of Ben's death would inevitably come flooding back to you. Hearing the news that Ben's shooter was released was so upsetting, but then learning it was him that attacked you would have been overwhelming. I just wanted to be with you, to tell you myself. Grace, I'm stronger now. I'm not that same girl you gave the necklace to, the girl who needed to hold on to the past. I don't like things to be hidden from me. It wasn't your decision to make to withhold that information. But honestly, all of that has nothing to do with Ben. I thought I was doing what was best for you. I know that. And Grace, I'm not upset at you for it anymore. So I'm confused, Dahlia. Why won't you forgive him? Talk to him again. Before I can answer, the waiter approaches our table and I order an extra dirty martini, and Grace orders a sparkling water. When he leaves, I pick up where we left off. The word forgive means something different to each of us, and we each choose whether we can do it or not. I did hear him out, and once he started to explain everything, it only made me angrier. I just don't think talking to him again will change anything. It won't make me forget what I went through, or help me forgive him. It would be like saying I'm okay with what I went through because of him, and I'm not okay with that. I don't know if I ever will be. Leaning closer, she squeezes my hand. I'm not sure about that, Dahlia. I think if you just calmly sit down with him and really listen, you could try to understand why he left. He left to protect you. And if you can understand that, you'd be able to forgive him. I'm sorry, but I've really had enough with everyone always wanting to protect me. And how is causing me so much pain and suffering protecting me? Grace, I'm not mad at the fact that he didn't actually die. I just can't forgive the act itself. Pretending to die. Grace reacts more dramatically than I would ever have expected. Dahlia, you just have to get past this wall you've put up and let him in. Forgive him. He gave up a lot for you. Surfing, and now his life. As I stare at her, trying to understand where this conversation is headed, the waiter brings us our drinks, and without even glancing at our menus, we both order a salad. Taking a large sip from my glass, I set it down and prepare to tell her what she doesn't want to hear. His reasons, what he did, why he did it, they don't change the impact his death had on not just me, but all of us. We all felt the pain and mourned for him in our own way for a long time. And it was his choice. His choice to leave. His choice to keep evidence. Don't you get it? He made a choice. You may have been able to forgive him for all that, and that's fine. But that doesn't mean I can. Rubbing her hands together, she says, I do get it, but choices aren't always that easy, Dahlia. Ben suffered too. In fact, he's still suffering. Suddenly, it's like all of the emotional turmoil I've experienced these last few days comes rushing back. Setting my glass down, I have to tell her, danger, protection, disappearing, Grace, it's just insane. The whole thing. Our salads arrive and we both push our forks around without really eating or talking. Without warning, she drops her fork and focuses on me. Dahlia, will you please forgive him? For me. He has a whole life to rebuild and he really wants you in it. Exasperation takes hold of me and I have to tell her, I am not getting back together with him. You can't possibly think that. No, I'd never ask you to do that. I know you're happy. Just hear him out. He needs your forgiveness in order to be able to move on. Move away from these sad past few years. And Dahlia, before anything else, you were friends. Can't you get back to that? I shake my head no. What he needs? What about what I needed? What about the life I led? She stares at me for a long while before standing up and coming to crouch beside me. She holds both of my hands, and when she finally speaks, it doesn't sound like her voice at all. It's small and full of pain. Dahlia, I think of you as my daughter. You know that. And it's for this reason I feel you need to take a step back and look at what you're doing. You need to face the situation. Not only have you been through a lot, but so has he. I think talking to him will help you move past your anger and maybe even help toward rebuilding your friendship. Standing up, I toss my napkin on the table and grab my purse. Grace, I'm not ready to forgive him. There's nothing he can do to take back what I went through because of his decisions. My anger is justified, and I don't know if I'll ever get past it. She makes one last plea. Dahlia, you owe him at least forgiveness. I don't owe him anything. With that, I have to leave the restaurant before I lose my composure. I try to take deep, calming breaths. I reach my car and want to scream when I see the folded piece of paper on my windshield. I take his Remember Me item and without even opening it, rip it into pieces and let it fall to the ground. Finally, all the emotion and events of the past days paralyze me as I'm getting into the car. I put my hands on the roof, taking short, quick breaths, trying to pump the air back into my lungs. I think about what Grace asked me, and even though I would do almost anything for her, I can't do it. I can't look at the situation through rose-colored glasses like she always does.
Chapter 13. Come Undone. Ben's Journal. When Mom told me she was meeting Dahlia for lunch, I figured it was a perfect opportunity to leave Dahlia one of my notes. But when Mom came home later, clearly upset, I had to wonder if that was why. Since she didn't mention the note, I can only guess it wasn't but that their lunch didn't go well. She and Dahlia have always had a great relationship, and the last thing I want is for their connection to suffer because of me. I've never had that kind of relationship until I went to New York City and I was lucky enough to make friends with the head of the English department at NYU. George took me under his wing and we quickly became friends. We'd go out for a beer or two after swimming laps, and we'd discuss life in general, sports, and even his divorce. But I never told him about my life here. I'm wondering if I should have. I could really use him right now. I've decided to take Dahlia up on her offer and plan to move back into our house. I need to help relieve the stress Mom is feeling. When Serena gave me the note Dahlia left her that said, "Give these to Ben, the house is his," I was surprised. I thought she would respond to my note, but she ignored it and sent that instead. Trying really hard to find a reason not to drown myself in a bottle of Jack, I started to move my things back into our house. Well, my house now. What the fuck am I going to do? I have no life left here. No job and definitely not my girl. I tried to call her numerous times and she won't answer my calls. I'm beginning to wonder if she'll ever talk to me again. I thought I would be able to break through to her, but she seems determined not to talk to me. I really just want some time alone with her to explain further. No, I really just want her back. Caleb is also pissed as hell at me right now. When I went back to our house, it was still there. The old key holder. I knew she'd never get rid of it. I took it off the wall and pulled the cap off the end. The data chip was still there. I didn't want any of that information anymore, so I called Caleb and gave it to him to take to the agency. He told me he just fucking knew I kept shit. He reamed me, asking me if I had any idea the danger I had put Dahlia in. Honestly, at the time, I really didn't. I wanted her to have it in case. In case of what? I don't even know anymore.
Chapter 14. Madness. It was one of the most perfect fall days. The weather wasn't too hot or too cold, and the breeze was just enough to keep me cool. I had my windows down on the drive from Laguna Beach to LA and hoped that the scene with Grace at the restaurant wasn't as bad as I thought. I had sat in the parking lot for over an hour before I left. I wanted to make sure my judgment wasn't clouded from my one drink. But all I kept thinking was 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes was all it had taken to put a tear in an almost perfect relationship. The whole drive home, I listened to the song Into the Nothing on repeat and went over our conversation in my mind. I loved her and would never want to hurt her, but I just couldn't agree to her request that I forgive Ben for what he had done. At 6 o'clock, I finally pull into the driveway, and I'm surprised everyone is still there. I tried to call River from the car, but it went straight to voicemail. The music playing as I open the door tells me immediately that Nix took control of the playlist because it's his favorite song, Radioactive. The kitchen shows the remnants of a party. Pizza boxes stacked on the stove, bags of chips on the table, and beer bottles lined up on the counter. River's at the kitchen table with his hands fisted through his hair, and Ellie sits next to him as they both look over a stack of papers. Xander's outside pacing the deck while talking on the phone, and the other band members are sacked out on the couch. "Hey!" I call out when I walk through the door and hang my keys on the hook. River looks up with a smile and pushes his chair back. Ellie turns, setting her beer bottle down, and I notice immediately she's removed her suit jacket. Her very low-cut silk camisole displays her ample cleavage, and I have to refrain from rolling my eyes. "Cute boots," she says, sounding like she means it. "Gucci?" Looking down at my chunky-heeled tall black boots, I shrug my shoulders. I have no idea what brand they are, but I'm sure they're not Gucci. I've had them for years and don't even remember where I bought them. "I'm not sure, but thanks. I have a similar pair but can never seem to get the right outfit when I try to wear them." Setting down my purse, I smile at her. "Really? I just throw them on with everything." Her phone rings and she motions toward the living room. "Excuse me a minute." River nods and stands up, his gaze locking on mine as he strides toward me and mouths, "Missed you." Smiling at him, I take a deep breath and try to push my argument with Grace from my thoughts. His gaze travels up and down my body before settling on my face. Then his lips are on mine and his arms circle my waist, and I feel better already. "You were gone a long time. Everything go okay?" I can smell the alcohol in his breath and know he's been drinking. Yeah, it was fine. I really don't want to discuss what happened with Grace in front of Ellie. Pulling back, he outstretches his arms and leaves his hands on my hips. You sure? Because you don't look like everything's fine. I nod and lean against the counter. Want anything? There's plenty of pizza left. I think I'll just have a beer. He grabs a glass for me and fills it with ice, then opens the refrigerator to retrieve a bottle. Twisting the cap off, he takes a swig, and I watch the way his throat moves as the cool liquid goes down. Hey, that's mine, I tease. Grinning, he pours the beer into the glass and hands it to me. What, you don't share? I smirk back, and before I can answer, his warm breath is on my skin. When his parted lips kiss my neck and his tongue teases my flesh, I grip my glass tighter and ask, You're working late. Are you almost done? Ellie responds for him. Well, you know, since he, she says, pointing to River in case I don't know who she means. It was so hard to pin down, I have to take advantage while I can. For some reason, her tone bothers me, but I still shoot her a glad he could be of service smile. Then I tell River, I'm really tired. I'm going to take these boots off and lay down for a bit. He presses a kiss to my cheek before sliding his tongue to my ear and whispering, Wait for me and I'll do that for you. Just let me wrap this up. Ellie quickly interjects, River, we're not finished yet. And I wonder how she could hear us over the music, and why she was even listening. But I'm not going to stick around and argue with her. Kissing River one more time, I head to our bedroom. Moments later, I'm chewing some ice and standing at the windows in front of my hope chest, just blankly staring at the Hollywood sign when I feel his hand at my waist. He swipes my hair to the side with his other hand. Closing my eyes, I lean into him. He moves his hands to my stomach and presses his body against mine. What do you say we take off more than just the boots? I laugh. Are you drunk? Who, me? Why would I be drunk after I had to spend the day discussing the ins and outs of every stage at every stop? I still don't get why Xander couldn't have taken care of all that. I stretch my arms around his neck and tilt my head to the side. Well, I think that would be because Ellie wanted you to help take care of it. He pulls me flush to him, and I can feel his hard body against every part of me. She doesn't bother you, does she? No, not really. Why would you think she bothers me? His fingers are inching inside the waistband of my jeans, and his mouth moves up and down my neck. I don't know, because she bothers me. He laughs, and I join in. His other hand untucks my shirt and then moves up to slip inside the lacy cup of my bra. His hand fits perfectly around my small breast. He murmurs against my ear, Do you want to talk about your lunch with Grace now? Not when you're drunk, I don't, I say, angling my head so that his lips can find mine. I'm not drunk, I only had 2 beers. I'm not really listening as his lips travel down my neck and place open-mouthed kisses along my skin. He gently bites down on my lower lip. A quiver of sensation washes through my body when his lips lock against mine. Turning around, I wrap my arms around his neck and look into his eyes, which are blurred with desire. I thought we could talk later, I purr as I slide my hand down the front of his jeans. With the stereo on, the only other sound in the room is his low but unmistakable growl as he pushes me toward the bed. Falling on it, he hovers over me, and I crawl back on my elbows, and he follows on his palms, his knees sliding up the sheets. My hands glide up his flexing back, and I relish the feel of each and every muscle. His mouth covers mine, and we drink each other in. Suddenly, the door opens. Hey, man, let's make like Linda Lovelace and blow. We both look over, and Garrett stands there with a shocked look on his face. Shit, man, I didn't know Dahlia was home. River and I look at each other, laughing uncontrollably, and Garrett rushes to close the door, leaving it open a crack to say, Nix is ready to go. How much longer do you need? River collapses next to me and throws his arm over his forehead. Give me 5 minutes. I roll onto my side and rest my head on my hand. Where are you going? We're going. Sorry, I got distracted and forgot to mention it. Ellie wants to introduce the band to some of the setup crew and wants us to play a few songs for them to get them in the zone, as she put it. She's arranged for all of us to meet at Smitten's tonight. I guess she has a limo coming to pick us up. Of course she does. She does bother you, he says, leaning over to kiss the bare spot on my stomach where my shirt has lifted. Well, it's more like her giant boobs bother me. He laughs and looks up at me. Didn't really notice her boobs, he says, pulling my shirt up the rest of the way, exposing my bra. He runs his tongue up my stomach to my chest, and once he lifts my bra, he says, I only notice yours. He nips my shoulder before locking his mouth around my nipple. With a quick flick of his tongue, he licks me and it instantly hardens. My fists clutch the sheets as my back arches. I want you. Just as his hands fly to the button of my jeans, there's a pounding on the door. Come on, lover boy, get the muse and let's go, Xander shouts. Sighing, River mutters, fuck, under his breath, and then yells, go without me. Not happening, I'm coming in, so you better be decent, Xander warns, and I quickly pull my shirt down as he opens the door. I'm sitting up on my elbows as River once again throws his arm over his forehead. He doesn't even look at Xander when he says, seriously, Xander, don't you have anywhere else to be than up my ass? Xander approaches the bed and jerks River's arm, making him sit up. They stare at each other and Xander narrows his eyes when he says, I'll be more than up your ass if you don't get your head in the game, bro. I've had enough of your shit. Now let's go. The limo's waiting. He doesn't wait for a response. He just turns and walks away, slamming the door behind him. Smitten's is packed when we walk in. I hear the song Done playing and look over to the band. I haven't seen them before, but everyone's mouthing the words and dancing. They really have the crowd entertained. River laces his fingers in mine and weaves his way through the crowd. I immediately notice the archway in the back leading to the pool room is covered in plastic. I tap him on the shoulder and point to the construction. What's going on over there? Chuckling, he informs me, Smitty is remodeling the old pool room, turning it into a state-of-the-art billiards room, I guess. Once we reach the bar, he orders us 2 beers and 1 glass with ice. While we're waiting, he leans against the bar and seems to stare off into space. I'm starting to get more concerned about the stress this tour is causing him. Once our drinks arrive, he pours my beer into the glass and hands it to me. Then he says into my ear, sorry about earlier. I promised to finish what I started later. I can't resist tracing the letters on his Ramones t-shirt when I tell him, way to get a girl all hot and bothered and leave her hanging. Dahlia, there you are, Belle shouts from behind me. When I turn in her direction, I notice she's wearing the birthday present I gave her, a love quote scarf. It complements her black jeans and white lace top perfectly. I smile and tug on the scarf. Hi, Belle. How was your date? Amazing. It's work that's killing me. Xander has me jumping hoops for this tour now that he knows I have another job. With both jobs, I feel like I don't have enough time for a boyfriend right now. If you really like him, tell him that. I'm sure he'll understand. River pulls me back against him, and Belle appears to suddenly realize it's her brother behind me. Nice cover-up you and Xander pulled on Mom about the eye, but she saw right through it, you know. Xander approaches us, motioning for River to follow him. I better see what he wants, he says to both of us and kisses me before walking off. I watch what looks to be a heated conversation. Belle notices too, and bites her bottom lip before saying, what's going on with those two? I think River is just stressed over the tour. I guess. Xander leaves River standing there. River once again looks stressed as he runs his hands through his hair and follows Xander to the table full of young guys all staring at Ellie, who has once again removed her jacket. Have you met Ellie? Belle asks me. Yeah, I have. She seems competent. Yeah, competent is one way to describe her. I look at her and laugh as she squeezes her way to the bar. She orders us 2 shots. Handing one over to me, she says, to women who think they're all that, may their boobs drop at a young age. I laugh so hard I can barely down my shot. She orders another, and this time I make the toast. To women who see through the women who think they're all that. Belle sucks in a breath to control her laughter and drinks her shot, then asks, You're not worried about her, are you? No. Well, good, because you've no reason to be. My brother loves you. I smile at her. I know. Speaking of my brother, what are you doing for his birthday? I look at her blankly. Shit, Belle. It's this Saturday, isn't it? I have no idea. With everything... I'm not sure if she knows about Ben yet, even though everyone seems to know everything before I do. I've been so busy I haven't even thought about it. Lucky for you, I'm an awesome party planner. I don't know about a party, though. There's so much going on with the tour right now. Nonsense! That's the perfect reason to have a blowout party, to celebrate River's birthday and the band's departure. Let's make it a surprise. I look at her questioningly. Dahlia, I'll take care of everything. You just get him out of the house for a few hours Saturday. Take him to dinner or something for his birthday. As my eyes roam the bar, they fall on River's table, where Ellie is leaning over him, handing him a shot. Her chest is on full display, and I roll my eyes. Okay, Belle, if you're sure. Come on, my turn to buy a round. 3 shots and 2 beers later, I am feeling no pain. Belle has changed topics so many times I'm having a hard time keeping up. She went from talking about birth control and how she can never remember to take the pill at the same time every day to a recent shopping spree at Avery's, and now she's telling me her plans for the party. I'm trying to stay focused, listening and nodding, but my mind keeps going back to Grace. I can't stop thinking about how we left things. But the sound of a familiar voice brings me to full attention. My eyes dart to the stage and I see him up there looking at ease, relaxed. Like the stage is his second home. Hello, everyone. His deep voice welcomes the crowd. When I see him up there like that, I can't believe he's mine. He stands with a power that commands attention. His toned muscles flex under his t-shirt with every twist and turn he makes as he adjusts the microphone height with his guitar slung around him, hugging his back. For some reason, every time I see him like that on stage, it steals my breath away. His smile is wide, his dimples always on full display, his eyes bright. He's so steady and sure, and his passion for singing couldn't be clearer. When he's up there, I know it's where he's meant to be. For a moment, I wish it could always stay this simple for him. Just write songs and bring them to life. No talk of touring and moving up to a grander scale. But the band is on the rise, and he deserves the fame and all that goes with it. I just hope he learns to be happy with it. I'm going to sing a few songs tonight that I wrote for my girl, he says, his eyes shining on me. The way he looks at me sends prickles along my skin. He pulls his guitar around him. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, he mouths before the opening music surges throughout the room. You were my once in a lifetime. This I knew from the moment your eyes met mine. You were my once in a lifetime. This I knew the first time I whispered into your ear and my heart stopped. You were my once in a lifetime. This I knew when your face touched my spirit. You were my once in a lifetime. This I knew when I kissed your lips and felt it in my soul. So where did you go? Where did you go? My concerns about Grace flee for the moment in my excitement at watching him perform. Hearing him sing about us, his feelings for me, brings such peace. His evocative voice captures the audience's attention. Couples start dancing, people begin to sway, and everyone is singing along. But he's singing it to me as if we were alone, and that thrills me. He stops playing the guitar and lets it drop. Grabbing the mic with both hands, his eyes close. With his legs shoulder-width apart, he taps his thigh to the beat. He owns the music. Of that there is no doubt. As the song ends, he sways back and forth, playing the last few notes on his guitar and ending with an ever so slight bow. The band moves right into the next song, but this time he takes a seat on a bar stool. His black boots find their place on the rung, and he rests his guitar on his thigh. He beams before he breaks into song, strumming the beautiful melody of 5. Again, I'm completely mesmerized. When he begins to sing, his focus slips further into the music, as if he's the song. During the chorus, some of the girls start screaming and standing. He gifts them with his sexy grin. Wild thoughts of us in bed together flood my mind, and I feel myself flush as I stand there, watching him, wanting him. He drops his guitar again and raises both hands in the air. His shirt lifts and the glistening skin of his lower abdomen is bared for all to see. "Come on, everyone, sing along," he coos into the mic. And of course, we all do. 5 years, 260 weeks, 1,825 days, 2.3 million minutes. That was how long ago I met you. If I did it all again, would you come along for the ride? If I did it all again, could you play this game with me? I'm not sure I've ever seen anything sexier than his bright smile backlit by the golden lights of the stage. Here, in this small, familiar venue, River is in his element. When the last notes fade, the audience bursts into applause and the sound dances through me. "That's all for tonight. Till next time," he says as he lifts his guitar strap over his shoulder. He waves to the audience while they clap and yell for more. Some girls are even calling out their phone numbers while others make suggestive comments, but he doesn't seem to notice. The wild ones talk for a few minutes and then each guy leaves the stage going their own ways. I lose sight of him in the crowd and turn back toward Belle, who is also grinning from ear to ear. Then I sense his presence behind me before I see him. Hey, beautiful. His warm breath travels down my neck and sends a shiver through my eager body. I lean into him and he wraps an arm around me. Belle puts a finger over her lips and winks at me. "See you two later. I have to find Reston before he hits the stage." "Reston? Who's Reston?" River asks, then kisses my neck. "Don't you ever pay attention? He's my boyfriend, the drummer for Scandalicious." When he looks at her quizzically, she says, "Duh, they're the band on stage." He lifts his eyes to check it out, but keeps his lips on me. "Sorry, Belle, I just can't keep up with all your boyfriends. But the band is rocking it." "I really like this one," she says as she flutters toward the stage. "Good luck," I call to her, but I've already turned so I can really kiss him. "You were amazing up there," I tell him, raking my fingers through his hair and holding on. Leaning back, he takes in every inch of me. Then he's got me flush against his body, desire consuming my every thought. His eyes are hooded, and I can see a reflection of my desire in his gaze. The passion between us is about ready to erupt. "Amazing, yeah," he responds, but his breath catches on the words. Skimming my hands down his chest, I circle his waist and tuck my hands inside his jeans. Pulling him closer, I softly brush my lips against his neck, and his body quivers from our slight skin-on-skin contact. His hands glide up my back as he closes the small distance I left between us. When he slips his tongue into my mouth, I gasp, but when he bites down on my bottom lip and sucks on it, I can't help but whimper. I pull away before things escalate any further. "Take me home and finish what you started before we left." He looks around and then over at the table where Ellie, Xander, and the other band members are all sitting, still doing shots and engaging in animated conversation. "I can call us a cab." My body is way too impatient to wait for a ride, and I let him know it when I rock against him and say, "I want you now, not in an hour." He steps back and surveys his options. Watching him, I lick my lips and run my hands down my body. "Fuck," he groans, hissing through his teeth. When he drags his tongue across his lip, he looks so freaking sexy I know I'd let him fuck me in the bathroom. He motions to the left, ushering me into the crowd, and I hope no one is watching us. As we're making our way through it, he wraps his arm around my waist and pulls me into him. Pointing to where he wants me to head, he leans in and whispers, "I'm so hard right now." My brain is a bit hazy from the drinks I've had tonight, but it's not in the least bit clouded when it comes to this. I know what I want, and I know he wants the same. At the covered archway with the sign pool room above it, he looks around, then lifts the sheet of plastic and motions to me to slip under it. He quickly follows. Once we're on the other side, he takes my hand and leads me down the hallway. It's pitch black and he has to hold his phone up to guide the way. Once we enter the room, I look around, but the only thing in here is the pool table, covered by a white sheet. He sets his phone on it and quickly hoists me up onto the table. "You sure about this?" he asks with his heavily lidded eyes studying me. Pulling in a shaky breath at the smoldering look in his eyes, I lean in to kiss the corner of his mouth and purr, "Absolutely." With a soft groan, he slides between my legs, and the feel of him pressed against me makes me tremble. My breath hitches and my pulse quickens. Cupping my face in one hand, he traces the seam of my lips with the other. Not wanting to wait another minute, I wrap my hands around his neck, and our lips move against each other with fervent need, and a soft moan escapes my throat. I can hear the band playing "Feel This Moment," and I lose myself in the music. Something almost primal overcomes me. I moan in his ear loud enough that he can hear me. Sliding my mouth back to his, we consume each other as our lips move faster, harder, deeper against each other's. I don't care if I fuck him on the floor, the pool table, or against the wall when he rocks against me. I squeeze my eyes shut, just needing to feel his skin against mine, trying not to dig my fingernails into him. I want him so badly. Opening my eyes, I stare at him, then quickly stand, and we turn so he's leaning against the pool table. His eyes lock on mine as my hands find their way down his chest to unbutton and unzip his jeans. Shoving his pants and boxers down, I see that he's fully ready for me, and my hand strokes his length. I push him back slightly, and as I kneel, I can see his chest moving up and down at a rapid pace. I start slow, swirling my tongue around his tip before sucking on it. At the taste, I realize how hungry I was for him. I lick every inch of him. When I seal my mouth over him, he groans and his hands go to my head, but I don't need him to guide me. I want to give him this, to relieve the stress I've seen on his face all day. Each time I move, I take him as deep as I can, and each time he hits the back of my throat, he groans even louder. My mouth sucks, my fingers stroke, and my lips move in all the ways I know he likes it. "Oh, fuck. Just like that. Just like that," he mutters, and it thrills me to hear the pleasure in his voice. His muscles start to shake when my tongue revisits his tip. As I trace a path around the moistness already beaded there, he shudders and slides his hands down beneath my arms, quickly pulling me up to him. His mouth finds mine, and I know he must taste himself on me. We kiss each other as if we can't get enough of one another. Then he picks me up and sets me on the pool table. Panting, he bends down and unzips one boot, then the other, leaving me breathless and gasping with anticipation. "I've been thinking about taking these boots off you all day," he says as he tosses my boot to the ground. The slight glow of the phone is the only illumination in the pitch-black room. I smile at him and love the look I see on his face right now. He stands me up and quickly removes my pants and panties, then sets me back on the pool table. "God, I want you," I tell him. Grinning at me, he says, "Not yet," as he drops down and spreads my legs further apart. His fingers trace patterns around my slick flesh, and then his tongue follows the same path. I have wanted him all day, and with just this simple touch, I begin to feel a soft rippling. He thrusts his tongue in and out, and I arch my back and call out for more. When his tongue finds its way deep inside of me, I start to tremble. Screaming his name as the room goes blurry, I lose awareness of where I am as I experience the most amazing climax. Thank God the band's loud bass drowns out the sounds we're making. He stands back up and my vision clears enough to see the face of the man I love. I lean back and he slides us up the pool table. And this time when he kisses me, I can taste myself. He smiles while kissing me, and I know he's thinking the same thing. I wrap my fingers around him and guide him to me because I can't wait another minute to have him inside of me. He groans as he plunges deep inside me, and I raise my hips to meet his. We both move in harmony at a quick but rhythmic pace, enjoying every second of becoming one. Meeting each thrust with my own, next River increases the pace, and I feel my muscles start to clench again. I kiss my way up his neck and back down, and in turn he bites my lip, my cheek, and my ear. He pulls back slightly, closing his eyes, and I know he's close. When I know I can't hold back anymore, I pull his ear to my mouth and whisper, "Come with me." As the wave of euphoria washes through me again, he calls my name and takes one final thrust before he, too, loses all control. He falls to my side and pulls me close. "I love you." "I love you, too." We lay there for a few minutes, both quiet, both clinging to each other with a desperation we haven't had before, and it scares me. Have recent events taken a deeper toll than either of us is willing to admit? Laying here in this dark room, hearing his ragged breathing, I can't help but think back on our intense sexual encounters the past few days. Is this aggressive need for each other our way of trying to tear down the wall between us?
Chapter 15. Love Remains the Same. Ben's Journal. I've been busy moving and trying to get my girl back. I moved the boxes from Mom's attic to my and Doll's house. I started to unpack them yesterday, but when I found a bin full of broken pictures of Dahlia and me, I had to stop. I thought going for a run and then working out would completely exhaust me. But when I woke up in the middle of the night with a raging hard-on from a dream about her, I wasn't sure working out was the best choice. The dream was so real, but unlike anything I had ever experienced with her. It took me taking my dick in my own hand right then and there and getting one in the shower this morning to finish myself off from that dream. Since I've gotten back, I've done everything to get Doll alone. When I saw her on the beach, I didn't go for it. I wanted to play it straight and tell her everything. I wanted for her to come back to me because she got it. Well, that didn't fucking work. Since then, I've called her and left messages just asking her to meet me or telling her that I love her. Not much, just simple short messages to get my point across. She hasn't called me back. I've even gone as far as leaving another note on her car. How fucked up is that? I had to track her down to do it, and it didn't even work. So next time I see her, I need to get her alone and forget about all the words. I need to make her remember what we had, the love we shared, the sex. If I do, it will come back to her then, and she'll come back to me. She just has to let her guard down and really let me touch her. I only want her back. I talked Caleb into going out for a drink tomorrow night. Like a needy chick, I had to ask him to pick me up, but I'll be getting my car back tomorrow night, so that shit will stop. Serena took the car from Trent indefinitely. I'll give it to him when he's ready and get a new one, but for now it's the best for all of us if he doesn't have it. He's in bad shape, and he doesn't need to be driving. I've spent as much time with him as he'll stick around for, but that's not much. I tried to talk him into going surfing with me over the weekend, but he said no. He's going to stay with his dad for a few nights. I need to get out anyway. I'm going stir crazy. Thought about calling Kimberly, but I don't want to hurt her. Soon I need to come clean to her and explain everything, but I can't face that just yet.